Something is amiss in the state of Utah. Trying to explain the odd feelings after 2 single points on this road trip, we are going to dive into the factors that are symptoms of bigger problems.
You are Locked On Mammoth, your daily podcast on the Utah Mammoth, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to Locked On Mammoth. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined as always by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Robyn, back-to-back California games against Anaheim and San Jose net only single points. And while there is a lens through which you can say they have points in 3 of 4, we can look all the way back to the start of the month. And the only team that Utah's beaten in regulation is the Buffalo Sabres. I think a lot of people are having odd feelings right now, ourselves included. The fans they're clearly, our everydayers are certainly very vocal about this right now. We're going to look at this trip because there are larger symptoms, or I should say symptoms of larger problems that we're going to get into. We're going to talk about the defense. We're going to talk about what's going on with the forward lines. We're going to talk about even the coaching. Yes, we're going to get into that as well. And where this team is right now, where they should be heading, and where we actually think they're heading, because there is a lot to dig into. And that goaltender interference call, Robyn and I are going to break that down for you as well. So there is plenty for us to get to in this episode. Believe me, we have a lot of feelings just like you guys do. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Robyn, I think the first thing I want to start with is the aura of this road trip. It was the mom's trip, and honestly, I think because it was the mom's trip, I feel slightly better about it than I should, because I just always enjoy seeing the moms having fun. And, so I think that's a cool thing. And I love those trips where the family gets to see it. But I think it's artificially inflating my getting 2 out of 4 points from this trip, because there's a lot not to like about how this trip turned out.
Yeah, no, this is not what we expected, right? We went in, right, and we were talking when we were saying these are 2 must wins. These are what you need to get to keep yourself in playoff spot. I know it's early, still quote early in the season, but at what point you're going to make that excuse, right? Because you got to get points where you can get them, whether it's early in the season, mid in the season, late in the season, whatever it is. Because I mean, points, lack of points or losing in overtime, they don't get you in the playoffs, right? But also, one thing I want to put out, and obviously will be part of a little bit dive in a little bit later, but being 2-5-3 in the last 10 games, Tom, is not also, it also leaves a really bad taste in your mouth. And I feel like it even is amplified by this loss in overtime to the Sharks.
A winnable game. The Sharks was a winnable game. The Ducks is a winnable game. They were all winnable games. Here's the thing. I feel like that's the spin we're getting from Mammoth Land right now, as well. We're right there. A break goes our way, we win that game. But here's the thing. Consistently, the breaks have not gone your way. And I mean, I can and will pick on several individual things, but let's start with the mental mistakes, because I told you at this 20-game mark, Robyn, this is the overall report card for me of where I think this team's going to be at 80 games. Like, you should know who you are by now. They're still making the mental mistakes, and that call, I have to censor myself, that too many men on the ice call in overtime could not be any worse. That was terrible. And it wasn't close, Robyn. It was not close. It was so obvious.
And you know what, Tom? We talked about this going into the season. We said, don't make those fundamental penalties anymore, because that's what's going to bring everything back in the other direction. And Did I not warn everybody about this kid named Macklin Celebrini, saying that if you give him the opportunity, he's going to score, and you give him a power play opportunity on it in overtime, he's going to capitalize and get a goal, which, by the way, ended up being a hat trick for him. Like, did I not make the warning, Tom?
He was Celebrini last night 3 times. Oh my! It just no. Number one, that is a really, really impressive player. Okay, take nothing away from Macklin Celebrini, but getting roasted twice really fast on the road is like your nightmare start. It's your nightmare start. The Mammoth did scratch and claw their way kind of back into it. Robyn, and I know you've got some, we're going to go to the charts and graphs again. We're going to talk about some things, but I don't want to leave mental mistakes just yet, because there were so many breakdowns that are on the mental side. And this will lead us just naturally into talking about the defense. But even if you look at those first 2 goals, and then if you go look at goals against the Ducks, Robyn, the team is not cohesive. They are not all on the same page, especially when Sergachev jumps. And I'm going to tie a rope to the back of his pants to keep him from jumping too far into the play. But also the onus is really, if you are out there and Sergachev is out there with you and you're a forward, you better be prepared to play half the shift on D, because he is up there all the time. And the problem is they are failing to recognize and then failing to cover. The Ducks' overtime goal was another example of that. Failing to properly cover and understand where to go in the coverage, how to go in the coverage. And this can lead me straight into the coaching, which we're also going to get to. There's frustrating things, but Robyn, it's so much of it is mental right now. That's a huge problem for me at game 20.
It is. And I think what you said, where it seems like this team is not on the same page. Did I also not call for Lawson Krause or Clayton Keller or whoever to get together to kind of at least get a closed door meeting, whether it's between the captains or between and then followed by a players only meeting or whatever it is, to figure whatever this crap is going on, because it's like you need to make sure the entire team is on the same page. Like I said, if the coach isn't doing it, well, that's going to be for another conversation. If the coach isn't doing it, I'm leaving that on the captains. They got to figure that out. They got to get together and they got to really make sure everyone's on the same page.
And it just leaves me with an odd, almost eerie feeling. Look, Halloween was weeks ago, but I have an eerie feeling over this team because I look at it on paper and I love it. Yes. I love this roster.
Such a good roster.
But
stupid
they are
good.
Not producing results. And just to go back and harp on this schedule here, let me review for you your month of November. Okay. I'm not even going to go back into before November, but you start with a loss at home to Tampa Bay, and that was in the middle of a losing streak. You then do go on the road and beat Buffalo, but you beat them in overtime. Lose to the Leafs, Canadiens, and Senators. Then you come home and you beat Buffalo in regulation. Then you lose to the Islanders in regulation. You lose to the Ducks in regulation. You lose to the Sharks. Or sorry, not in regulation, in overtime. All these are overtime losses. 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. What do I say, Robyn, about the race to 3? 3-2, 3-2, 3-2 in overtime. Islanders, Ducks, Sharks, loss. So I know Andre Tourny wants to say, well, we got a point in each of our last 3 games.
Yeah, he's like the way he said it was, we're undefeated in regulation in our last 4 games. And
1-0-3.
And I'm like, no, that's still not acceptable.
And here's why I appreciate trying to flip things to the positive, because I do it all the time in everyday life. I have been called by people around me relentlessly positive when it comes to a lot of things. And honestly, it
go figure, right?
It annoys some people. It really does. It annoys some people because I'm always, hey, let's look at the good side. I do that. You have to do that, I think.
Oh, no, absolutely. I do. I do it too. Although, like, some days I can be I could be a pessimist. I could flip I could turn a table sometimes and be opposite version of me.
Well, but I think you have to, and that's the fair point I want to make here, Robin. Okay, I am going to go back to October. Okay, back beyond that Lightning loss, you lost to the Oilers. Before that was your 7-game win streak. So you're telling me since that 7-game win streak that ended on October 26th, you have actually beaten a grand total of one franchise in regulation, and it was the Buffalo Sabres. That's what you're telling me. Since October 26th, you've won one game in regulation.
And does that tell us what kind of team this Mammoth team is? Or is it just a blur? What is this? Are we getting deja vu of last November where in a difference being that this is actually a healthy team that's playing poorly versus a injured team that's been playing poorly?
Yeah, last year they had the built-in excuse. Like I say, I don't like excuses. You can call them reasons. But last year, at one point, 4 of your top 6 D were out. That's a reason, okay? Yeah. That's a huge reason.
Yeah, huge reason.
This year, you've got one injury to deal with. Most of the players have been healthy and healthier than my fantasy hockey team has been in the Sparkles Hockey League.
Mine's starting to get a hits too. I don't know. That's a whole other conversation.
Good. I'm glad it's your turn finally. I'm tired of the injury bug in my locker room. But the point is, this team should be ahead of last year's squad. And instead, I see the same old. And that is why I think I have this eerie feeling 2 points on the road trip was not good enough for me. I want to talk about the defense. I want to talk about this goaltender interference call. As a matter of fact, why don't we start with the goaltender interference call? Because I know a lot of folks had questions about that. And even the TV broadcast, Robin, was telling us that they thought that there was a reason to challenge. And at no point did I think there was a reason to challenge. Let's talk about that. And today's show is brought to you by Rugiet. Look, let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. You hear me, Utah Mammoth? We've heard them all before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. There's no awkward waiting rooms. There's no in-person appointments. If it's prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, it's simple, and it's private, and it's all handled by real doctors. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. All right, Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you, diving right in. Hey, by the way, thanks for making us your first listen each and every single day when it comes to the Utah Mammoth hockey team. We appreciate that. Our everydayers, you guys keep us going. Robin, the juice has been flowing with the everydayers online lately.
Oh, our comment section, our in the mentions on the Locked On Mammoth Twitter account, we got fans who are blowing off steam, and you know what? I appreciate that.
Yep, and I've had some pretty good discussions with people. Honestly, people who do not agree with me trying to be as real as possible, and that's fine because we have discussions then, right? They generate discussion. I don't argue with people. I want to have discussion about it, and I will tell you why I feel how I feel, which I'm going to do on this goaltender interference call thing. But you know what? That is a great moment I do want to mention because we have our brand new Everydayer Club. And not only do you get an ad-free podcast feed, which is compatible with major podcast apps, you're going to get access to a members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server. And I think that's where the fur will fly. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
The Locked On Mammoth
for our team.
Yeah, the Locked On Mammoth channel for that Discord server. I hope we get these amount of people who signs up and joins in on that channel, because based off what I'm seeing in the comments and the mentions, I want to see you guys talk amongst each other about it. Occasionally, Tom and I will chime in as well, and we'll come in, we'll talk with us, and it'll be a fun time.
Sometimes we will be the referees. Sometimes we will be the Bobby the Brain Heenan in the corner, the manager egging you on.
Sometimes I will just pop in, throw a bomb, and just disappear.
Just lob it right in the middle of the room, and yep, that's it. Pull the pin, roll it in, see what happens. Nope, that's fine. So we're going to have that. We're going to have exclusive access to the daily Locked On Sports Today podcast for you, and all kinds of other exclusives like season previews, draft previews, fantasy previews.
Gotta
There'll
love
be
the ad free still. That ad free is key, Tom.
Yeah, ad free is going to be huge because a lot of we still get occasional. Hey, you guys have too many ads. This is a way to get around that. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Save yourself $10 on the monthly price. So that's going to be launching December 8th. We are going to have sign up information for you. We'll direct you to that when it all launches. Robyn, goaltender interference in a league where no one knows what goaltender interference is. I even knew this was goaltender interference. You also knew this was goaltender interference, yet the Mammoth broadcast did not seem to know, and the Mammoth coaching staff did not seem to know. And I don't understand why they challenged this play, because it was clearly goaltender interference.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to break it down for us?
So it's interesting, Tom, because I will say this. I understand the initial argument, right? But when you look at the replay here, what happens is Dylan Guenther is fighting in front of the crease. He turns around, and while he's turning around, he goes towards the crease. And once he's already in the crease, he gets put. It's when he gets a slight nudge, falls, and essentially just gets that foot of Askarov and brings in that disallowed goal. The argument people were saying is, oh, he was pushed in, so there, ergo, no goaltender interference. But Tom, because Dylan Guenther made his move towards the crease on his own, that already negates the goal, and negates the argument and says that's what makes a goaltender interference. Once your foot goes in that blue paint, you can't make an argument against.
So I'm going to start my comments by saying I know why I can justify why they challenged. I don't know why they challenged because I wasn't part of the communication process. But here's what happens in any sport with a review. Sometimes you throw a dart.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping that maybe if it's a borderline call, the person in this case reviewing it in Toronto sees it your way. And maybe you get one. Maybe you get lucky.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, like the other argument I said is good enough. It's good enough.
That was not the place for that, though. I don't think. But again, I understand why sometimes you throw that dart because sometimes you get lucky. But even the push, you have to expect the push as part of the battle in front. If the push would have resulted in Guenther occupying a space where maybe Askarov tries to move right and nudges into Guenther, okay, now you've got an argument, but you're also blocking the shot. But because he Karate Kid swept the leg and took him out, I mean, that's a no-brainer to call it goaltender interference, Rob. And that one was pretty blatant.
Yeah.
And I think whether or not Guenther decided, oh, hey, I was pushed, maybe I'll just try to execute this move. Whatever it was, as you mentioned, foot's already in the crease, and you expect that battle, that push in there. No, I just didn't see a point where, because of the way the contact happened, because of Guenther's move into the crease, because of the way that whole thing was unfolding, there was not a moment where I was watching the game with my dad last night, and I said, Dad, there's no way this goal counts. There's no way this goal counts. And then they challenged it, which shocked me. I understood they were looking at it, but again, you're looking at it on an iPad, but that's where your video coach needs to come in for you big. Now, Robyn, here's the thing. You give up that power play then is the reason why it's dicey to challenge. That kills the momentum you had from scoring / not scoring, because even then, if you stay 5-on-5, you at least can continue that surge of momentum, right? But the Mammoth kneecapped themselves from that by having to go on the penalty kill. That's the other reason why I don't agree with challenging there, because it turned the momentum of the game.
Yeah, it very well. I feel like the risk to reward factor on that, it's like it wasn't there. Like, you should at that point, like they called goaltender interference. Honestly, like if you see it could like that, the likelihood of it getting overturned was pretty low. I mean, I'm not sure what I was. We weren't in the room, so we don't sure. But what was being told on their end, but if they don't, if they don't lose that, they don't make the challenge, they don't lose it, they don't go on the penalty kill, they might be able to get something. Because essentially you just, all that happens is they just reset right outside the zone and go from there. And
yeah, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. And again, I mean, they do rally to tie the game, and then
JJ Peterka, looking great with those goals, by the way. But
yeah, and then was also part of the too many men penalty. Oh, so many things to break down. The defense. Look, I want to talk about the defense again, and then we're going to get into the coaching and just try and explain all these odd feelings. By the way, if you still have questions on goaltender interference, because really the whole league does.
Tom's the goalie.
I mean, I feel like most of the time we should know what it is, and then every once in a while, that's the other reason why you challenge those plays, is every once in a while Toronto makes a head-scratching decision.
It's funny. There are things that people always ask, what even is it? In hockey, it's what is goaltender interference? People always like to make the joke in college football. It's what even is targeting?
Yeah. Yep. And it's kind of a moving target all the time, and it's hard to define. So, but if you still have questions on that play or just in general, please drop them in the comments or please reach out to us on social. But all right, Robyn, we're going to try to kind of wrap up explaining these odd feelings we have after this road trip and just symptoms of larger problems. And we need to get into that.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. I know a lot of Jazz fans, you might have mixed feelings, but hey, you know what? Lauri Markkanen's looking great. He looks great every game, doesn't he, right? Keeps the game exciting, and maybe you can bet that he goes on the 30-point rush, maybe a double-double, or whatever you want to do, right? Keeps the game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head over to FanDuel.com. Sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you on Locked On Mammoth. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We are available everywhere you get your podcast, plus here on YouTube. So don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe if you are on YouTube. Click the bell so you get a notification when we drop new shows. A little janky on the schedule this week. I know normally we are out right at 6 a.m. Mountain Time. Scheduling is off this week because of my travel and some other factors, but so largely it's on me is what I'm telling you. But if you're subscribed, as soon as you get a show, you will know about it. And we're just kind of wrapping up this 2 out of 4 point road trip. And the larger looking back over our shoulder at Robyn, I think what bothers me among the odd feelings is the one regulation win. And so I wanted to talk about symptoms of bigger problems. In each of those games, there were opportunities for the Mammoth offense to convert, and they didn't. Times when they really needed that one more goal. And we said this year in the preseason, we didn't expect scoring goals to be a problem. They are scoring some, but I tell you, it's the race to 3 every night. And look at what they've lost each game by 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, the last 3 in a row. Robyn, the timely scoring is not there. Right now, maybe you've got numbers. Nick Schmaltz, you've got numbers. Clayton Keller, you've got numbers. Cooley, you've got numbers. But I need you to score tying goals. I need you to score go-ahead goals, and they're not doing that.
And I feel like, and I've been following, Mammoth Twitter and seeing what a lot of the fans think, what a lot of other media think, and it feels like there is a key word that I feel like is being shared across a lot of people's thoughts, is that this team has what we've been seeing in the last 10 games, Tom, a lack of a sense of urgency. And I feel like that is the biggest issue that we're seeing.
I can agree with that. I can absolutely agree with that. And there's still times, I'll give you, for instance, here, this was a small moment, and maybe you didn't even notice it in the game. Lawson Krause came in shorthanded, and he actually made a really nice play at the blue line to anticipate a breakout pass, picked it off, walked in, wound up for a fake slap shot, and opted not to shoot. And then kind of passed over, tried to pass out of it, ended up, I think, eventually turning over the puck. Yeah, it killed some time off the clock, but I would have loved to have seen him uncork that shot anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a player relatively in front of him, and if it was blocking your shooting lane, it is okay to rip it a little bit to the side of the shin pads, hope for a deflection or a tip, or at least make that player pay for blocking your shot, but shoot the puck, because something weird could happen. It could deflect. It could find its way in. The worst thing that happens is the puck ends up in the corner, but they still have to retrieve it. So that's a tiny, tiny moment. But Robyn, I think it shows you over the course of 60 minutes, not shooting, not taking that chance, trying to look off that pass, not just there. Your urgency is a good word there. Where is the urgency to test the goaltender, to make life difficult on the opposition? I don't see it. I don't feel it. I don't feel it in a forecheck. I don't feel it in the battles on the boards. And look, hockey is a tough physical game, and I get it. Back-to-backs, night two, it's tough. But still, every team does this. This is not an excuse. Like, the teams that win Stanley Cups do this all the time throughout the course of a season, whether they're tired or not.
And it's interesting, that we're looking at this because, like, I mean, you could take a look at samples from the 7-game winning streak, but remember when we were breaking down the loss to Chicago, right? I know a lot of you guys probably want to forget about that one now. It feels like a long time ago as well, right? But when you look at that loss, remember one of the stats I brought up, and it's something I even remember, I didn't even have to remember myself because I remember bringing it up. Was the Fenwick that the Hayton Krause, the Hayton Schmaltz Keller line had, right? Where it was like 15-4-0 against, right? That's forecheck, right? They still have sense of urgency in that game. Yeah, they lost that game, but where was that? Where has that been?
And to your point, you're not going to win every game.
You're not going to win every game. And remember the conversation we had when after that win streak, right? We're like, this team's not going to go 80-2. We know this, but what we're hoping for, and you said this too, Tom, and I think I'm going to bring it back up, is the Utah Mammoth need to figure out a way to manage their peaks and valleys. Where, yeah, they have a great 7-game win streak, but you can't have a losing streak or where they are now when they only go 2 wins in the last 10 games.
This isn't a valley, Robyn. This is a canyon. They're in the bottom of a canyon.
Like, you have to manage that, right? You have to like where is the median now? Like, I don't even know where the median is anymore.
It's getting lower, quite frankly. And that's not good. It's an out of the playoffs median. So
they're lucky the Wild aren't playing well, and they're lucky the Blues are tanking for Gavin McKenna, but like,
who, by the way, is not having a great start at Penn State.
I know, right? Look at that.
Yeah, that's been interesting. Okay, Robyn, I just, there's a couple more things I want to talk about. We're going to talk about ways to maybe shake things up later on this week because we absolutely have to. But I'm just going to say it. I'm getting tired of Sergachev. I'm getting tired of it. He blew my mind when he came into camp, and I highlighted this quote at least 2 or 3 times, saying he wanted to be more involved in the offense. At this point, just make the guy a left wing, because he's a defensive train wreck. He's terrible. And as expensive as he is, he's costing the Mammoth goals. He's costing this team probably games because of his defensive irresponsibility, because of his need to join the offense so much. And the problem is, and it highlights one of these bigger problems, this is a symptom of it, he's pushing, and maybe he's just pushing because in his mind, he's like, I got to tie the game. I got to do it myself. but the rest of the team is not picking up his slack. And so the acuity to be defensively responsible for whatever forward line is out there with him is also lacking. And this is again a bigger problem with this team. Sergachev's not the only defenseman who jumps. He is the only one who does it 24/7.
And it's interesting you bring that up because you take a look at the goals that we saw in this last game, right? Like where Celebrini just gets into the zone all on his own.
Mhm.
Like you just again, as you said at the beginning of this of the episode here, Tom, Celebrini is like a fantastic hockey player. He's gonna be superstar. He already is superstar. Like this, so freaking good. But you just don't let him walk in like that. Like,
by the way, oh, go ahead. Sorry,
I was gonna finish, but like, come on, really?
Yeah, that you know what's funny, Robyn, and just here's the damned if you do, damned if you don't. The one time Sergachev didn't jump in and he hesitated was overtime against the Ducks, and Dylan Guenther was so conditioned for him to always jump that Guenther stayed low and did not attempt to start coming back because he didn't think he'd have to defend on that play, which is also maybe the mistake of a young player. But he stayed lower in the zone along with Keller. And when Sergachev once in his life didn't push, it resulted in just a dumpster fire worth of a rush the other way to try to cover defensively, and they lose the game on that play. So it's just frustrating to me. It's frustrating to fans, I know, because we hear you guys each and every single day telling us it's frustrating to you. And it is. It's hard to watch right now. So, and we're going to talk later on in the week about what we think can jar these guys out of this. But Robyn, it's not getting any easier, right? It's not getting any easier. You've got Vegas, Rangers, Vegas, Montreal, Dallas, St. Louis to finish November. 4 of those are at home. And now the one thing, the ray of sunshine, is they've been much better at home. But boy, oh boy, 2 out of 3 against Vegas. Yee. That's a tough little stretch. And the Rangers are kind of starting to find themselves here and there, which scares me a little bit.
Yeah, after a really bad start to their season, right?
Yeah,
like
they
that,
started
like
awful.
really bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, yes, this is like, I feel like it's interesting. I mean, it's a word we probably already used, but like I'll say it now, especially even more so after these losses. I feel like, yeah, sure, Vegas coming up, and we'll have that preview coming up for you tomorrow morning. But I feel like now it's at an inflection point. You got to figure out. They really need to figure out who this team is. Like
sometimes ties feel like wins. Sometimes they feel like losses. I feel like this team feels like it's losing. I don't feel like they're points in 3 or 4. I feel like they're losing right now.
Exactly.
You're right. Who are they? Identity.
You need to figure it out, because if you don't figure it out with this upcoming swing, you're going to find yourself way out of a playoff spot, and it's going to be hard to get yourself back. And again, like now we're a quarter way through the season, right? We're a quarter of the way through the season. Like, I don't think it's too early anymore. Like, figure it out.
Yeah. Hey, you know, I like my little nuggets. I'm going to drop one in here and talk about this real quick. Is that a lot of people like to call this the quarter pole, using the horse racing term of the season. It is actually not. Horse racing, the 3/4 pole is where we are, because horse racing counts down. So you're at 3/4, half, quarter pole. The quarter pole is the final stretch. So when people say, oh, the marker is the quarter pole marker in horse racing, actually it's not. This is the 3/4 pole. And I know that feels counterintuitive, but horse racing actually down as you go around the track. So I just want to throw that out there.
Okay.
So
interesting.
You learned something today if you stayed to the end of the episode, which if you did, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Robyn, is there anything else you want to get in here? Because I know we've covered a lot, and we vented a lot. Our fans are venting a lot. I get it.
All I will say is, like, power play, it's got to figure its stuff out, or else I'm going to start making some calls for not just the head coach, but for assistant coaches.
No, okay. I'll say this because we'll get into this later this week.
Yeah, but I decided to put that bomb now, and then I'll talk.
No,
About, I know what
I saw you pulling the pin slowly and gently. I think you don't keep the staff if you clean house. I don't think you should. If you decide head coach goes, everybody goes. Let whoever comes in, and I already have a name, and I'll reveal it later in the week. I already know who I want, so we'll get to that. But this is a weird place to be in right now, Robyn, because it's like rearranging chairs on a ship that's going down. It just, I can feel it. I just don't know how high the seat heat is internally, because externally, I don't think my burner goes any higher.
Yeah, we'll have to find out.
We'll
have the conversation later this week. That's for darn sure. We'll be doing a lot more later this week.
Yeah. All right, Robyn, if folks want to reach out to us, give us their thoughts, their feelings, their reactions, and most of you already know where to find us, but for those that don't, where can they find us?
You can find us everywhere on social media at Locked On Mammoth. That's at Locked On Mammoth. You can find me personally. I'm mostly active over on Twitter /X at Robyn_Leaño. You can DM me there or on the Mammoth one. And I usually try to get back to you ASAP. If you DM me elsewhere outside of Twitter, it might take me a little bit longer to get back to you, but I'll still find it at some point, and I'll get back to you.
And you can find me over on Blue Sky at Tom Talks and Twitter at Callahan on Air. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I know Robyn does as well. And we thank you, as always, for being a part of Locked On Mammoth.